Calling the meeting to order at 10:01. Vice Chair, could you take a roll and announce if we have a quorum established?
Okay, Pamela Brief,
Present?
Patricia Trouth, present. Susan Landry,
Present.
Martin Armstrong, absent, and John Rosinski.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you, Vice Chair. Committee members, just a few remarks on procedure. Please keep your microphone muted when you are not speaking. And members should keep their camera on if they're attending not in person, which is not the case for anyone here today. When you wish to speak, please raise your hand. And when speaking, please identify yourself each time. For each agenda item, there will be an opportunity for public comment. And LATC, just a reminder of voting requirements. All motions and seconds will be repeated for the record, and votes on all motion will be taken by roll call. We'll discuss taking a break probably around 12:30 today for lunch. And want to ask the members at this time if you would like to make any introductory comments. See none, we will open for public comment items not on the agenda. Just a reminder that the committee may not discuss or take action on any item raised during this public comment section, except to decide whether to refer the item to the committee's next meeting or strategic planning session. And I will open it up for public comment at this time.
And are there any public comments in the room there in Sacramento? If not, okay, thank you. So if anyone on WebEx would like to make a comment on an item that is not already on the agenda, you may look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen. Or if you're on a mobile device, it might be behind the 3-dot other options. And anytime we have call-in users, they may press *3 to raise their hand. Each speaker will have a 3-minute time period to speak with a 30-second warning. And we do have a request from GV Ayers. GV, I'll send you a request to unmute your microphone and then you'll have 3 minutes. You're unmuted, go ahead.
I'm with Gentle Rivers Consulting, and I represent, or my consulting firm represents the Association for Professional Landscape Designers, the California chapter. I know that y'all have had discussions and involvement with the association previously, and just wanted to introduce myself and say that we look forward to working with you going forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do not see any further requests for comment. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your comment. We are moving on to item D. It's an update on the Department of Consumer Affairs, and I'll ask Leslie Barmby, DCA Board and Bureau Relations, to present this agenda item.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leslie Barmby. I'm from the Department of Consumer Affairs. It shows on, sorry, it may not be close enough. Yeah.
I can hear you fine in WebEx.
Okay. Sorry. My name is Leslie Barmby. I'm with the Department of Consumer Affairs. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. In January, Governor Newsom released his proposed 2025-26 state budget, which included a proposal to split DCA Oversight Agency, the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency, into two state agencies, the California Housing and Homelessness Agency and the Business and Consumer Services Agency. The proposed California Housing and Homelessness Agency will oversee housing and homelessness solutions and safeguard civil rights. The new Business and Consumer Services Agency will be responsible for consumer affairs, licensing, and enforcement. The Department of Consumer Affairs would be among the 8 departments in this new agency. As part of the process in state government, on April 4th, the governor's reorganization plan was delivered to the nonpartisan Little Hoover Commission for review. The submission of the plan to the commission began an approximate 90-day formal review process. The commission held public hearings on April 23rd and 24th to receive testimony for the interested parties to provide input on the proposed reorganization. Our agency secretary, DCA Director Kirschmeyer, and other impacted department leaders testified in support of the governor's plan and responded to questions from the commissioners. The commission is in the process of writing a report that it will submit to the governor and the legislature. The commission's report will offer a recommendation to the governor and the legislature as to whether it believes the reorganization plan should go into effect. The commission sometimes offers recommendations for how the plan could be strengthened, either through administrative actions or subsequent legislation. The legislature will have 60 days to review and consider the reorganization plan. The governor's plan becomes effective on the 61st day after it has been given to the legislature, unless either the Senate or the Assembly adopts by majority vote unless either the Senate or Assembly adopts by majority vote a resolution to reject the plan. If approved, the Business and Consumer Services Agency will be created in July 2025 with a 1 year of transition and will become operative on July 1st, 2026. In addition to several virtual briefings hosted by Agency Secretary Moss, there is detailed information available on the reorganization plan on the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency website. We believe this is an extraordinary opportunity for DCA to better align with other consumer protection departments. A secretary within the governor's cabinet focused solely on consumer protection will only strengthen our mission, momentum, and delivery of services to California. DCA will continue to keep the board and bureau leadership updated on progress of the governor's reorganization plan. On March 3rd, 2025, Governor Newsom issued an executive order requiring all state agencies and departments to update their hybrid telework policies for employees and increase from 2 to 4 days in office per week beginning on July 1st, 2025. On March 13th, the California Department of Human Resources issued guidance on implementation of the executive order. The guidance provides defined parameters for when agencies and departments can make case-by-case exceptions to the 4-day in-office minimum requirement. DCA has been working closely with a few programs on identifying additional space needed for this transition. DCA has been hosting bi-weekly meetings with board and bureau leadership to provide updates and respond to questions. We recognize that this transition will likely require adjustments for many employees, and we are working together to minimize the impacts. We will, of course, continue to keep leadership updated on any additional direction received from CalHR. On April 28th, Levi Hull began serving as DCA's new Compliance and Equity Officer. In this position, he is responsible for leading and coordinating department-wide quality improvement efforts to ensure consistency and regulatory compliance. This position oversees DCA's solid planning and training services, the Organizational Improvement Office, the Equal Employment Opportunity Office, and the Internal Audits Office, and serves as the liaison to the department's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee. As the department's equity officer, this position is dedicated to enhancing the diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility policies, trainings, and activities through the department's programs. Levi brings more than 12 years of experience in leading multidisciplinary teams and driving strategic program development. With more than 9 years of experience in EEO compliance and program management, including nearly 3 years at DCA, he is an experienced leader with a deep commitment to fostering inclusive, equitable, and accessible work environments. As a reminder, board members must complete board member orientation training within 1 year of their appointment or reappointment. Board member orientation training will be offered virtually on June 18th, 2025, and again on October 22nd, 2025. Members can register for this training via the Learning Management System. In closing, each year during the first week in May, we celebrate Public Service Recognition Week. I want to close with a special thank you to the board, your executive officer, and board staff for your hard work and dedicated efforts to achieve our mission of consumer protection. We are grateful for your partnership and applaud your extraordinary service each and every day. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Yes?
Thank you very much. I'll open it up for questions. Are there any questions of the committee members? Committee member Rosensky?
Yeah, thank you. I have a question in regards to the reorg, the study that was done. Does that include possible fiscal impacts to the boards and bureaus?
I don't have the answer to that, but I can take it back and get it from my management.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the committee? I have one along the same lines of fiscal impact. The 4-day in office, because you'll be looking for additional office space, does that have the ability to increase budgetary costs for LATC?
I'm not sure about that.
I can answer that for LATC. So we have sufficient space.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay,
for the
great.
board and LATC.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for me. At this time, I will open up for public comment.
And is there any public comment in the room in Sacramento?
No.
Thank you. If anyone on WebEx would like to make a comment on the DCA update, you can look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen, or if you're on a mobile device, it might be behind the 3-dot other options. And you can press the hand icon to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any questions on the DCA report? I do not have any requests for questions. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your report.
Thank you.
We are on to item E, the budget update from DCA Budget Office. Luke Fitzgerald is going to present the agenda item. Luke, are you present?
Yes.
Oh, Luke is online. Hi, Luke. Oh, there you are. I see you on screen.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, good morning. My name is Luke Fitzgerald. I'm a budget analyst with the DCA Budget Office, and I'm joined by the budget manager, Suzanne Balkus. I'd like to thank the committee and executive staff for allowing me a few minutes to present on agenda item E, the committee's expenditure projections and fund condition statement. Firstly, I'm going to start with the committee expenditures. These projections are based on actual data through fiscal month 9. The report includes 2023-2024 actual expenditures in green, as well as 2024-25 budgeted and projected expenditures in blue and orange. As we move toward the end of the document, you'll see that the committee had a beginning base budget with the estimated May revised adjustments of approximately $1,153,000 and is projected to spend a total of approximately $887,000, creating a reversion to the committee's fund of approximately $266,000, or a reversion percentage of 23.05%. The next document is going to be the committee's revenue projections. This report includes receipts collected through March and projected revenue to year end. And I will actually go further into these projections as we transition to the next slide. The next document is going to be the committee's fund condition statement. And as a quick reminder, we read this document from top to bottom and left to right. The leftmost column is going to be the committee's prior year 2023-2024 actuals. It shows the committee began 2023-24 with a beginning base budget of $648,000. The committee collected $1,042,000 in revenues, with $128,000 from initial license fees, $865,000 from license renewals, and $49,000 was collected from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The committee expended $1,036,000, which includes $98,000 in direct draws to the fund for statewide pro rata and pension payments. The committee ended 2023-24 with $654,000 in reserve balance, or about 8.2 months in reserve. For current year 2024-25, the committee projects revenues of $1,455,000, with $164,000 projected from initial license fees, just over $1,245,000 from renewal fees, and $45,000 from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The committee's 2024-25 expenditures are based on the governor's budget, with fiscal month 9 projections at $958,000 between authorized expenditures and direct draws to the fund, leaving the committee with a fund balance of approximately $1,150,000, or about 10.2 months in reserve. The Budget Office will continue to monitor the committee's revenue and expenditures and report back to the committee with monthly expenditure projections as we continue to close fiscal months in the current fiscal year. And then a few things to note on the committee's fund condition. The fund condition is a snapshot in time. One of the main factors driving expenditure increases in future years is a result of personal service adjustments. These include general salary increases, as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. The Budget Office includes a conservative ongoing 3% increase to expenditures in the fund condition statement to account for these ongoing incremental adjustments. You'll also notice that revenue is projected with a high-low estimate in the out years. Lastly, I would like to note to the committee that any future legislation or unanticipated events could result in the committee's need for additional resources, which could create cost pressure on the fund. The Budget Office will continue to monitor the committee's fund condition statement and keep the line of communication open with the executive staff for any future needs or expectations. Again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present today's meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Luke. At this time, does the committee have any questions? Okay, Committee Member Rosinski.
All right, thank you. I have a few. Going back to the expenditure projection report, the first line, permanent positions, it looks like the projection to year end is less than what had been budgeted. And is that assuming that we're short a position, or it's an open position that hasn't been filled, or what's driving that?
Let me go ahead and pull that up on my end so I can take a look as well.
There is two factors. One of them, it looks like there is a vacant position that it's going to, we were anticipating it might get filled before the end of the fiscal year. And the second one is because of the May revise, is that we need to eliminate a position. So the LATC is eliminating one position, so therefore they cannot fill that position for this fiscal year or next. So that is why there is that you'll see that it's less than projected.
All right, so if I heard you correctly, we're mandated to eliminate a position on the staff?
Based on the May revise, yes. Based on the governor's executive order, yes.
All right. Yeah, one other question on this form. The line item on out-of-state travel, it looks like there's a zero allocation for that. And yet we're projected to have costs associated with that at the end of the year. Is this normal that there's nothing allocated for out-of-state travel in the budget, or how's that
Yes,
addressed?
that is normal, because when we're looking at the budget and when Department of Finance look at the budget, we look at the bottom line and not the individual line items. And as long as the bottom line that we are not over appropriated, then we are good. The only ones that we look at specific line items, which is going to be the AG line item for Attorney General and OAH for the administrative hearing. That's the only two that we make sure that it is, but the budget and the spending align. Other than that, everything should be good.
All right, thank you. And my next question is on the revenue projections report. The delinquent fees, can you explain what those specific fees are related to?
So it's related to the delinquency for the landscape architect renewal. So if they're supposed to be, say that they have to apply by January, and if they didn't and they submitted it after the deadline, then that becomes delinquent. And then they request that for them to add a delinquency fee.
Okay, so
Charge
that,
them a delinquency fee.
okay, so that would only be for those that are reapplying for licensure, correct?
For renewal, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let's see, going on to the analysis of fund condition. I just had a question in regards to the bottom line here, the months in reserve. Does that, looking at the out years, does that assume that whatever monies we have left over in the current year, that's going to be the pattern, or what are the assumptions?
So the
on the out
assumptions
years?
for budget year, and just to let you know, this is before the May revise that was issued just yesterday. So we did not, has not been updated for that. So that's going to be changing. However, based on the governor's budget, the budget year, this is what the appropriation. So we are assuming full appropriated to match with what we have in the governor's budget. So our assumption is that the board is going to spend to their full appropriation. But seeing historically that they have been having reversions, we know that it's going to look better, but we still have to put full appropriation in the fund condition.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Chair Rositsky. Any other committee members with questions? All right, seeing none, we will open it up for public comment, please. Oh, Laura, I'm sorry, before we do that, Laura, would you like to explain?
Yeah, I can expand a little bit on the vacant position. There was earlier this fiscal year direction from the administration to do position reductions for vacant positions. We had been holding the OT position open, and so we've had the board absorb some of those OT duties. So that position was eliminated as part of the vacant positions. The LATC and the board each lost a position, but salary savings. So
Yeah.
the silver lining.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you. John, do you have another question?
Yeah, I just have a question related to that. Will that cover the mandated reduction in force? Asking for.
That they referred to. Yeah, I think that is what she was referring to. Yeah, so that covers it.
All right, just one more check-in on the committee members. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we can now open for public comment, please.
Thank you. This is the moderator. Are there any members of the public in Sacramento who'd like to comment?
No.
Thank you. And on WebEx, if anyone would like to make a comment on the budget report, you can look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. And each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. And I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
At this time, we are on item F, Office of Professional Examination Services, OPAS. I'll ask Brian Knox, Research Data Analyst 2, and Karen Okasich, Research Data Supervisor 2, to present this agenda item. And my apologies if I mispronounced your name. Oh, I get a gold star for pronunciation today. I looked at that ahead of time and did a little mindful practice, so I'm glad if I got at least close. Thank you and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Yeah, I think we're ready. Yeah.
So good morning. My name is Karen Okasich. I got the last name right, which is just made my day. And I'm here with Brian Knox. We're with the Office of Professional Examination Services, and we're thrilled to be here with you today to talk with you a little bit about OPS and the services we provide, and then also talk specifically with you about, about the services that we are providing for your programs. So OPS is a unit within the Department of, next slide. We're a unit within the Department of Consumer Affairs, and we exist to help all of DCA's licensing boards, bureaus, and committees develop examination programs that are legally defensible, valid, and fair to candidates. Right now, we're working with about 24 of DCA's entities, and we provide different services. We will work with boards to develop California-specific examinations. Where they are using national exams, we will also work with them to conduct reviews to make sure that those examinations are valid. And we provide those services through interagency contracts. We also will work with boards. They may have a specific examination question or an issue that comes up. And so we'll also provide consulting services to help them with whatever that question might be. And those services are provided through Pro Rata. We have a staff of about 10 test validation specialists who are educated and trained in how to develop and validate licensing examinations. Brian is the test development specialist who oversees your program, and he's going to be talking here in a few minutes when I get done talking about generalizations about DCA. Next slide. Here in California, we have a bit of a unique situation in that there is a mandate under Business and Professions Code Section 139, which we refer to simply as Section 139. It has requirements for all of the entities under DCA in terms of how to develop examinations. So this mandate went into effect in 1999, and its purpose is to ensure that examination programs meet psychometric requirements, that they are psychometrically sound, that they are job related, and that they are valid. So the Section 139 has some specific requirements that boards, bureaus, and committees must comply with. And one of those is that the examinations must be based on a current occupational analysis. So what that means is that there needs to be a study that is performed every 5 years to identify competencies required for practice. Section 139 also requires that very specific components have to go into the examination development process. So every year you get to provide information about the processes that are used. And that information, all boards have to provide it. That information gets compiled by OPS and it's submitted to the legislature. So where California exams are used, most frequently our office is involved. So it's easier to access the information that's required. The regulation, however, also has specifications for national exams. So it's not enough just to say that, well, we use a national exam. It's up to them to ensure this. It is the board's responsibility to ensure that that national exam conforms to the requirements for validity that are established under this mandate. So that information has to be provided as part of this report as well. Next slide. We have a number of different policies and a memorandum that have been designed to help boards, bureaus, and committees comply with this Section 139 mandate and in terms of providing the information that is required. The predominant one is the licensing examination validation policy. It's available upon request. We keep it updated. It does change as industry standards evolve to make sure that we are addressing the most relevant and current issues related to licensure examinations. The DCA policy regarding examination validation specifies that the standards for educational and psychological testing must be followed for ensuring validity of examination. So it's the standards that we use when we develop examinations. They are the standards that we apply when we evaluate national examinations to make sure that the processes are valid. We refer to these simply as standards. We'll be talking about it a little bit more throughout the presentation, so that's what we are referring to. These standards are accepted within the testing industry, and they have been accepted by the courts in terms of establishing validity of examinations. Next slide. So these standards are a set of guidelines that have been developed over a number of years. They also are frequently updated, every few years. And they are designed to ensure that we meet requirements for reliability, validity, and fairness to candidates. So when we are talking about validity and we are looking at the purpose of licensure, we are talking about public protection. That is the purpose of licensure. The purpose of the licensing examination is to help in differentiating candidates who are ready for practice, safe and effective practice, from those who are not quite ready yet. So we have an obligation when we're testing to ensure that we're measuring the competencies that are required for safe and effective practice. That's the reason for the occupational analysis. You're going to hear us talk about it quite a bit in this presentation because it's absolutely essential. We also have a secondary objective, a secondary obligation, and that is to candidates to ensure the examination is fair. We are not trying to set artificial barriers to practice, and we are not trying to limit entry into a profession unnecessarily. So in order to do that, we're constantly balancing these two obligations and objectives. And one of the main ways that we do this is by using subject matter experts in every phase of the process. They're absolutely critical to what we do and what national examinations are expected to do. Subject matter experts are practitioners who are currently working in the field. They are in good standing with the board. And we also like to involve practitioners who have been licensed 5 years or less. So when we're talking about competencies, it's very important that we are not looking at competencies that are gained over time. There is the expectation that there's continued learning as people evolve in their careers and develop specializations. We're looking at those competencies that are required for entry into the profession, which we define as the first 5 years of practice. So by having subject matter experts involved and involving people licensed 5 years or less, we make sure that we are maintaining that perspective. When we are developing examinations or evaluating national examinations, there are very specific components that are involved in the process. We refer to it as the cycle of examination development. So the cycle is ongoing. To ensure that examinations are measuring current practice, we want to make sure that these are constantly happening. Brian's going to talk about these in a little bit more detail in a minute, but it begins again with the occupational analysis, and there are steps involved from item writing on. So I'm going to let Brian talk now. He's going to go over the specifics in terms of how we conduct your occupational analyses, the national review that we perform on a periodic basis, and then the ongoing development for the California specific exam.
All right, thank you. The first step to develop a valid and reliable examination, whether at the national or state level, is to develop a detailed description of the content domains that are to be measured. We do this by conducting what is called an occupational analysis, although it's sometimes called a job analysis or a practice analysis. The occupational analysis is a study of the profession designed to identify the important tasks that new licensees must be able to perform safely and competently at the time of licensure, and the essential knowledge required to perform those tasks effectively. The results of the occupational analysis provide a detailed description of practice that provides an outline for developing licensure examinations. As you know, professional practice is continually evolving and changing, and due to new research, new technology, new methodologies in practice, and as a result, testing standards and guidelines require that occupational analyses be conducted every 5 years or so to help ensure that examinations stay current and within changes of the profession. In addition to providing a detailed description of practice and providing a foundation for our examination, the occupational analysis provides qualitative and quantitative data that is useful for other purposes. Typically, once we have a detailed description of practice, it can also be used to evaluate licensure requirements to ensure that they are congruent with the entry-level competencies required. And it can also be used to look at training and curriculum requirements in the profession. As well, it can help improve transparency by providing specific examination information to candidates that they need to know in order to be licensed. In conducting an OA, there are some basic steps to the process. The process requires the involvement of subject matter experts, particularly with a diverse practice backgrounds, work settings, and experience levels. These subject matter experts review draft task and knowledge statements, help develop the content areas, and identify demographic variables of interest. A survey is then sent out to practitioners throughout the state to determine how frequently and how important each one of those tasks and knowledge is to professional practice. Once results of the survey have been received and analyzed, another group of SMEs reviews the survey results and determines the final examination outline, which specifies the weights assigned to the different content areas. OPS will be working with the committee to update the California occupational analysis for the California supplemental exam probably within the next 2 years to make sure we're current. So turning to national examinations, Business and Professions Code Section 139 requires that all national examinations be reviewed in accordance with OPES validation policy. Our validation policy basically states that all licensure examinations that are used in California for California professions regulated by the DCA should be validated according to accepted technical and professional standards. California practice must be appropriately represented in an occupational analysis on the national level in order for the results to be valid for examination development in California. The suitability of content for California practice must be determined by a review of the OA, including the demographics of the practitioners at the national level. The three major components of our national reviews are that first we do a full psychometric evaluation, which I'll go into more detail in a second. Second, we conduct a workshop with subject matter experts to compare the national occupational analysis to the results of our own California occupational analysis. And we call this a linkage study. And finally, we identify the extent to which the national examination and the California specific examination together assess all of the information that the California landscape architects need to know in order to practice safely and competently. So for our psychometric evaluation, we typically review all the following parts of the national exam. The occupational analysis methodology used for their process, the examination development procedures, how the passing score is set or determined, how the examination itself is scored, and what the passing rate is. In addition, we also review their test administration and security procedures, all information made available to candidates, and ADA accommodations for the process. So as I mentioned before, subject matter experts are critical to our process and required by psychometric standards. OPS will work with the committee on how to select representative subject matter experts for these workshops, but they should reflect the profession in terms of specialty, types of practice, location, ethnicity, gender, and they should all have a valid license and be in good standing, of course. The right group of subject matter experts, if provided, helps ensure that all areas of practice are represented and includes individuals licensed 5 years or less to help provide a focus on that entry-level practice. As a result, when the process is complete, OPES will provide you with a national review report. The report will list out the relevant standards and policies that were mentioned earlier and provides findings and recommendations related to those standards and policies. We last conducted an audit of the national examination, the LARI, in 2023. So our next review would likely be performed within the next 3 years or so. So in addition, OPS develops the California Supplemental Examination as a state-specific examination. This examination is part of the licensing process and it must meet all the same requirements as the national examination. The CSE examination is designed to measure whether candidates are able to apply the California-specific legal and practice principles required for safe and effective practice in California. So going back to the cycle of examination development, OPES applies these same standards in developing the CSE as it evaluates in national examinations. Starting point for everything is, of course, that occupational analysis, which forms the basis or the blueprint for the examination development and is used throughout the entire process. The examination outline is used to write new items for the examination directly, where during item writing, subject matter experts will come to Sacramento and we will train them on how to write licensing examination questions. And with that, each item that they write is then linked to a specific task and knowledge on the examination plan. By doing this, we create a direct link between the content of the examination and the competencies that are required for practice. New items are then reviewed by a separate group of subject matter experts who review the items to make sure that they are accurate and correct in the best shape possible before they go on the examination. As a second part of review, we pre-test items, which is where we include items on the examination that are not scored, but it allows us to get statistical information on those items to make sure that they would perform in conformance with technical standards. Only after items make it through the review and pre-testing process are they possibly included on the examination. And during the examination construction, an exam outline is used to determine how many items of which content area are going to be used for the total exam. After the examination is constructed, typically it then goes through the process of setting a passing score. There are a few methods. It's recommended that we use a criterion reference passing score methodology. Currently, the CSE is employing the modified Angoff method for passing score settings, and that meets this recommendation. Brings us to the end. Thank you so much for letting us to present. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Thank you very much. I have a couple questions and then I'll turn it over to the committee. You talk about the every 5-year plan in general. I'm curious how any regulatory changes that could affect questions on the exam are handled in between that, those major review times.
So generally, if there is something that is addressed on the examination, like you are saying, we would need to implement in the board. So we would talk with you about when to phase that in, when it goes into effect, and to give candidates enough information about the change. So if it's critical, obviously we want to get it onto the examination as quickly as possible, but we would work with you to get that announcement out there.
Okay. And is it our responsibility to let you know of those things?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. That is my main question. Everything else I had on here was answered in your
Okay.
report, so thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions on the committee? Committee member Rosinski?
And John Roshinsky, if at all possible, can you give us kind of an idea of how the passing scores are typically set on an exam?
Yes, so I can talk to you about your exam specifically. We use, as Brian had said, what's referred to as a criterion reference passing score. Typically, what's used in licensure is what's referred to as a modified Angoff procedure. So when we set passing scores, we get a lot of questions. Well, why isn't it just set at 70%? Why is it, some boards will have it set in regs, and we definitely don't encourage that. We recommend against that. The reason for that is that it is not taking into account minimum competence. So if, let's say a passing score is set at 70%, and you have an exam that's more difficult one year than another year, it's not going to have the same meaning. So we use what's referred to as criterion referenced, in that it will take into account the criterion of minimum competence. So the training that subject matter experts undergo looks at the competencies that are required for practice, and then they are going through a process of estimating the difficulty of the examination in determining a passing score that is unique to that examination. Now, there are other processes that we use as well that boards have used, where we may be talking with you about, is using a statistical method called IRT. It still is based foundationally on the criterion reference passing score. So we would do that every 5 years when we update the examination outline. But then we can use statistics to help guide us. We're always trying to do what's referred to as examination equating, so that examinations stay at a relatively consistent level of difficulty. But statistics really are, they provide us with concrete information. So to the extent possible that we can use that, we do involve that in the process.
And does that process include looking at what the actual scores are on a particular and then averaging that out to make a determination on what is considered acceptable?
So we are not looking at passing score outcomes in manipulating a passing score. We do look at historical data to make sure that our passing score is consistent with where things have been. We also use what are referred to as anchor items on examinations. So these are items that we hold consistent across administration. So if we suddenly get a dip or an increase, we can go back to those items and perform some analyses and see what's going on. But we do not, no, we're not doing post hoc analyses. If we see something irregular with the examination, we're doing a deep dive into what's going on, and we may take corrective action, but we are not on the back end trying to set passing scores.
Okay. And my last question is, when the exam is given each year, or maybe it's several times a year or whatever, and you're looking at what the actual results were, are you going in and looking specifically at the fail rates for people that have taken the exam several times? Is there any analysis at all based on why a certain cohort may just not be able to get through the exam?
Want me to answer it? So
Sorry.
periodically questions like this come up, and we can perform analyses. We are not in the business of looking whether or not candidates who come out of a specific school perform better than another. A lot of the times boards do maintain that information. That's generally on your end. We're simply looking at items functioning the way that they're supposed to. Is there something that has happened? Is there an indication of cheating? We, of course, don't ever put out an imperfect exam. But, occasionally things do happen and we have to go in and see what's going on and we will perform those evaluations. But no, we're not looking, I want to choose my words carefully. We're not looking to look at industry variables. We're just maintaining our focus on entry-level competency, regardless of what's happening with extraneous factors.
Okay, thank you.
Committee Member Trout, you have questions?
Yes, please. Patricia Trouth. I just would like a little bit more detail about the review you do for the national exam. And then also the subject matter experts. Can you tell me how those get selected?
Sure. So the review that we perform for the national examination has different components. One is that we're performing a psychometric review. So through we will coordinate with the national examination. We've done it multiple times now, so we have a fairly good relationship with them. They're very responsive in terms of providing us with information. And we are evaluating every aspect of how they do development. So we're looking at the processes that they follow for conducting their occupational analyses. We want to make sure that it has California representation. If there's not a sufficient sample from California, that's a problem. We are looking at the method they use to link examination questions to their most recent occupational analysis. We're looking at whether they're using subject matter experts in developing their examination. Now, one of the things that we do tend to comment on, and I don't have the report in front of me, but one of the issues that we do deal with fairly frequently is that sometimes national exams will involve educators, and we recommend against that just because we want that clear separation between the licensing examination and influences. Obviously educational facilities have their objective and their place, and licensing examinations should be separate from that. We obviously can't require nationals not to use them, but that is a frequent recommendation that we end up making in our report. We look at whether or not they are performing proper reviews. We really encourage pre-testing of items so that you have front-end statistics to make sure items perform well. But in most cases, national examinations are involving subject matter experts. I do know your national examination is using them. We look at the method that they use to set a passing score to make sure that it's complying with standards. And then after we've performed our psychometric review, we're doing what's referred to as a linkage study. So it's really important that you have not just the national occupational analysis, but you have the California specific occupational analysis. So we take those two documents into a workshop with subject matter experts, and we have them evaluate those two documents to see how well they link up. Are there aspects in California practice that are not adequately covered by the national examination? And then we need to make sure those get covered on the California specific exam. And that's why you have two separate examinations. There are some issues in California, if I'm not mistaken, related to issues like fires and water that may not necessarily be adequately covered on the national exam because not every state deals with that. Well, sorry, I'm kind of going on, but I love talking and giving information. National examinations are obviously administering to all states or all states that accept their examinations. So they're looking at commonalities when they're measuring competencies. So they're not going to go necessarily into the depth that is required for practice here in California. So that's the purpose of the linkage study, is to identify what do we need to include on a California specific examination. Now, your second question was the subject. Okay.
Yeah, we determined the subject matter experts that we use through the workshop in a collaborative process with the committee. I work with Kimberly McDaniel. She typically gives us the list of subject matter experts. We give our specifications of what we would suggest and what would be good. But they're ultimately, they give us the list, and sometimes we recommend not reusing some subject matter experts as much. But it is a process between us.
Thank you. Just one more question. So do other states also go through this process where they're evaluating the national exam, like California's?
I cannot speak for other states. It's not uncommon that other states do. I know that other states do not necessarily have a mandate the way that we do in California that requires it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm kind of, if I simplify a little bit, it's that you are the check and balance with the national exam to make sure that those taking the national exam that reside in the state of California are getting a fair exam. Is that,
Correct.
is that,
Yes, yes. So.
which is great. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that we had that system set up. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for
So our
explaining
function
that.
is to protect boards and California
Mhm.
consumers. So
great.
we're an independent unit here and function in that capacity.
That's great. Okay, awesome. One more question. As you were speaking, it reminded me that CLARB, when we were at the CLARB annual meeting last year, they were talking about the fact that they're starting to provide practice exams as a way to, be fair to some candidates that, maybe get extremely nervous or the testing is maybe not their thing, but have the knowledge nonetheless. And so is there discussion? I know we don't have any at the moment. Is that something that we could have a conversation with you about as far as, maybe taking, if there's some tests that you aren't using but are still fair or something that we could start to prepare those and offer for the California supplemental exam, sort of a practice test sort of thing, so that at least candidates are starting to understand the way questions are asked. And I know you're doing diligent work to try to make it as fair as possible. So I imagine you're working with the language and all of that. But I think sometimes it just is helpful to candidates to get a little peek into.
So
Yeah.
you have asked us about that, and we are setting up a meeting. There are some intricacies that are involved. So one of the things we are doing is working to put some sample questions in the candidate manual so that they will have those examples, to take a look at. We're a little bit different in the state of California from a national association because we have an objective to make sure that our focus remains on measuring competencies, not necessarily overly helping candidates. There are some issues about costs. We can't charge candidates for things like that. So we'll be talking in a meeting with you, and I guarantee we'll be recommending that you talk with your legal counsel. And so it will be a process. It's not something we can just have happen. It's not something that is necessarily done or recommended at the state level.
Understood. Yeah, well, we appreciate the opportunity to have a discussion with you about that. Thank you very much. Yeah. And we have a question from committee member
Susan Landry.
Landry.
I just want to make a comment about being a subject matter expert. That's actually how I ended up on the board, was I did the subject matter first. And after you guys are off the board, I would really recommend doing it. It was very informative of just how thorough it is. And I did it at different levels. So like the first one was help write the question. Then you get other people's questions, you review those. And then you took the practice exam, and all of us older ones probably would have not passed these days. That was very obvious. But it was quite extensive working with you guys, and I really appreciate all the work that it takes. And you really start to see how long a question could take a year or two just to hone out and make sure it tests well and things like that. So thank you guys.
Oh. Yes, I really appreciate you explaining the process a little insight into that. I didn't understand all the intricacies of what you go through. So thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments from committee? And Laura or anyone? No, you're good. Okay. At this time, we will open up for public comment. Moderator?
My apologies. I was hoping maybe someone in Sacramento would step up. So no request for
No
comments.
worries, no worries at all. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. So if anyone on WebEx would like to make a comment on the OPES presentation, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand, or you may, any call-in users may press *3 to raise their hand. Are there any comments on the OPES report?
No one in the public.
All right, thank you. We do have 5 attendees online, but they do not seem to have questions. So shall I close the public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And once again, thank you very much for your report. Really appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You as well. We are on item G, review and possible action on the January 31st, 2025 LATC meeting minutes. First off, I want to ask the committee members, does anyone have any comments on the minutes? Okay, it looks like John Roshinsky has a couple comments. Go ahead, John.
John Roshinsky. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time. I have a question not on the way that the minutes were drafted, but a question on an item that's on here.
This is the appropriate time.
Okay,
Mhm,
okay.
yeah, it's for,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was under item D, update from the Department of Consumer Affairs, and about midway through that paragraph, it was referring to allowing extra time for payment of renewal fees, so on and so forth, if their business or residence is located within a specific impacted zip code. And the question I have is, it applied to everybody that's within that particular zip code, or only individuals who are actually affected by the fire?
I believe it's anyone in the impacted zip code. I don't think we asked them for proof that they were impacted by the
Okay.
fire.
Okay, so it could potentially, depending, have some effect on dues collection or fee collection, that type of thing. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's it for me.
all right. Thank you. And
I move we approve them.
I was just-
Susan has a question.
I was just going to ask, were there many people that were impacted? Did we have people that,
We did. I don't remember the number offhand, but I'd be happy to send out some follow-up information to you. I don't remember specifically how many people applied for this. I don't think it was a large number. I mean, it wasn't a large number.
than a dozen?
I think so.
Okay. Just
Mhm. Okay, any more questions? All right. Since there are no further questions or comments, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the January 31st, 2025 LATC meeting minutes.
Do we need to open the public hearing
Oh,
before that?
yes, we do. Thank you very much. Then we open?
Before we
Okay.
vote, okay.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second,
All right, motion to approve by Patricia Trell and second by Susan Landry. At this, before we vote. Okay, okay. Any further board comments? And now may we open for public comment?
Thank you. And still no public attendees in Sacramento?
There is, but they do not have a question. I am looking at him this one
Okay.
person right now.
Thank
And
you.
I will know when he's ready to speak.
And If anyone on WebEx would like to make a comment on the minutes, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the minutes? I do not see any requests to comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. And at this point, I believe, Vice Chair, we can take a roll for a vote.
Okay. Susan Landry,
Aye.
John Rosinski,
Aye.
Pamela Brief,
Aye.
Patricia Trouth, aye.
We have a unanimous approval of the meeting minutes. And at this point, we are going to move, we're going to jump down from H and I, if that is okay with the committee. We will put that at the end of the meeting. And we are going to go to J, which is a discussion of the upcoming University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA Extension Certificate Program review. I do want to make sure, well, a couple things. I will need to recuse myself from any deep discussion on this since I am an instructor at UCLA and I sit on their guidance committee. But since we are making a change to the agenda, I want to make sure that that works with Stephanie Landergan, who's on the other side of this call. So could we open it up for public comment just to make sure that this change isn't going to impact her negatively? She is there.
Certainly, yes, she's online. And Stephanie, I'm going to send you a request to unmute so that you can confirm that the time change works. Go ahead.
So it's going to be interesting, but I am okay with it. I have you all on my phone right now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Does that mean that you would prefer to?
Well, I would prefer another 20 minutes till I get into a computer. If that is
We can do
something
that.
you can accommodate.
We can accommodate you, Stephanie. Yes, that's why we asked. So we will do that.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Okay.
And are there any other public comments on the change in the agenda, just to be fair to everyone?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I do not see any other raised hands or requests for comment, so I can close that comment feature if you'd like.
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so at this time, I am going to ask for the legislation update by Laura Zuniga. Can you present this item?
Yes, bear with me just a second to get back to that. Okay, so you have the items in your packet. So we will start with our first item is AB 667. This bill deals with the issue of translation of exams. So it requires, oh, sorry, I lost my computer. Bear with me a second. For exams that are administered by the state to allow for the option of for applicants who cannot read, speak, or write English to use an interpreter at no cost for the verbal and oral portions of a state administered exam. So LATC does not administer the national exam, but it would apply to the California supplemental examination.
Okay.
So this bill is currently in the Assembly Appropriations Committee on the suspense file. So we'll continue to follow it and see what happens with it. It has been narrowed a bit since it was introduced. It did originally apply to it would have applied to the national exam as well as the CSE. So this certainly makes it more manageable, but we'll continue to see what happens with this. It obviously has a large impact DCA wide.
Okay.
Any questions?
I am assuming that that means that if there's no cost to the applicant, that there would be a cost to LATC.
Someone will have a cost, yes.
Yes, there's a cost somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, it says that they could use an interpreter, so they could be providing their own interpreter. Contractor State License Board administers all their own exams. They have allowed for years people to bring in approved translators for those exams. So it's not like it couldn't work. It'll just, yeah,
It'd be another
it's another,
layer.
right.
Mhm. Okay, all right. Patricia, did you have a question?
So, so the LATC would then pay for this, and it's like in, I don't know, like a dozen different languages? Just,
Well, they would be able to have a translator. I don't know that it's clear whether they bring in their own translator and we approve that person versus us hiring a translator, which would definitely be different cost-wise.
do we have the opportunity to, like, when we give you feedback, that you can kind of give that back to the assembly people?
We can, and also I think the department has been engaged on this bill, their legislative office, since it impacts everyone. So I think that would probably be, I guess, the most effective way for us to communicate is through them, since lots of boards have questions about this and concerns.
Yeah, so, I mean, before it becomes law, would there be some kind of analysis done?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Thank you.
in that process. And right now, looking at the cost, because it is over all the programs and not insubstantial amount of money.
John?
Any other questions? John?
Yeah, John Roshinsky. I guess you answered my one question, but is there a possibility that if this passes at some point in the future, the exams themselves would have to be written in multiple languages?
Not under this bill. There are a few programs that offer exams in other languages, and it's where their licensee population has a need for it, like Board of Barbering and Cosmetology. Probably the Acupuncture Board are the two that come to mind that I'm aware of, but I haven't heard discussion of that.
I'm just curious, what is the discussion on the architects board on this? Are they in support of this or?
The board hasn't met yet, so it'll probably just be a similar kind of concern about what the impact is to licensees. We don't get a lot of, yeah, I mean, I think we'd look at the number of requests we would be getting and, yeah, what the impact would be, but.
Okay. All right. And I'm assuming that these interpreters would have to be vetted in regards to, and there would have to be safeguards.
Ideally,
put in
yes,
there.
yeah, right.
So they're not bringing somebody in that's actually answering the questions for
Right,
them.
Right, that they're truly just translating.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that could make that exam process longer then, which takes, more seat time. So just definitely factors to consider.
I did have one other question. Are there any other accommodations made in testing in regards to disabilities and that sort of thing?
Yes, candidates can submit for a reasonable accommodation request if they need extra testing time. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Do we need to open it up for public comment after each since we've asked questions?
No, well, it's up to you. We can
Mhm.
either open it up after each one, especially if they're substantive, or we can open it up at the end. If we are going to take a vote on a position, then we definitely do need to open it
Yes.
for a vote.
Mhm.
But if we're going to maintain a watch, we can continue and take comments at the end if you'd like.
Excellent. Okay. Well, since we're maintaining that watch, we will move on and I will open for public comment at the end of Laura's report.
Thank you. The next item is AB 742. This bill is also in the Assembly Appropriations Committee. This bill would require DCA boards to prioritize applicants seeking licensure who are descendants of American slaves. There is a companion bill that this is linked to that would set up a commission to make that determination of who would qualify. And then this sets up a prioritization process for these applicants. It's worded a bit differently, but we do prioritize applications for veterans right now, for military spouses. So this could be a similar process. I think the question has been asked in the legislative analysis that I've seen that the more people you give priority to, then that it has an impact on all your other candidates, particularly if you're not charging for that prioritization. And so then what does it mean if it's really a larger group? So, but other than that, this issue has come back. It's been around for a few years, so continue to watch and see what happens.
And if I could add a note to that? So one of the things that has come up DCA wide is a concern of any litigation that could occur. And so rather than putting the burden of any litigation on any board or committee, one of the positions that has been considered is asking the legislature to amend that the state would take the burden because there are some constitutional concerns. Most, I think there's only one that I'm aware of that has an attachment to race or ethnicity or any type of personally identifiable characteristics, and they are required to gather that information, but it's separate from the application itself. And here, of course, we'll need to tie these two things together. And so that would be a change in all the boards and bureaus processes and considerations and could potentially open up boards and committees to liability. And even with it's creating that tie. So if there is a tie and we are following the directions of this new bureau, that what would be the liability for boards and bureaus? So that was one concern that legal has raised DCA wide.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you for that update. I have no questions on this particular one. Anyone else on the committee?
Okay. Our next item is Senate Bill 470. This bill is on the Senate floor, I believe, and this will continue changes that were made to the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act after COVID-19 that allow some flexibility in the prior teleconferencing requirements, the ability to meet remotely for an advisory body, things of that nature. So some good operational changes. Any questions?
Anyone? Chair or Committee Member Roshinsky.
John Roshinsky. In regards to this, if I read it correctly, it would be if any meeting, there would have to be at least one member of the committee that would be at a physical location, correct? And I'm assuming that would probably be here in Sacramento.
That is, I don't believe it applies to advisory bodies, but when we do it, like if the board does it, we will use like either this room or we use we have a small conference room at the office with this kind of setup where we would use that as the physical meeting location that's accessible to the public.
Okay, thank you.
And then a question on that ability for the public to be present during the meetings. That would ensure that it would be a WebEx meeting if nobody from staff was at a physical location here in Sacramento, and we were not meeting in person. Let's say everybody's on WebEx. Well, then I guess then the public can come in.
They could participate via
then they
WebEx.
could participate. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like in the older teleconference options that existed prior to these changes, it was you had to notice every location that a member was physically present at and provide that public access.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, and our last item is SB 641 by Senator Ashby, who chairs the Senate Business and Professions Committee that oversees the department. This provides for DCA and then for the Department of Real Estate in states of emergency, some waivers and exemptions to try to provide, some ongoing authority in the unfortunate event of the next disaster. So it allows for some waivers of exam eligibility requirements, renewal deadlines, CE deadlines, display of the license, when you need to pay the fee. So it's not a waiver, but just giving some flexibility and but waiving some delinquency fees when people are impacted by an emergency. So it would be great to have this established so we know what we can do more quickly in the next emergency.
Yeah, that would be great. Then emergency pieces aren't having to be put in every time. Which we anticipate.
Everyone knows what they could do and be ready. Yeah.
Are becoming closer and closer together, unfortunately. Yes. Any questions of the committee?
Okay.
All right.
That's all I have for those items. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. At this time, we will open it up for public comment.
And this is the DCA moderator. If anyone in Sacramento would like to make a comment, you may stand and move to the table. Thank you. And if anyone on WebEx would like to make a comment on any of the items covered in the legislation update, you can look for the hand icon on your WebEx screen at the bottom. If you are on a mobile device, that might be behind the 3 dot other options. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Would anyone like to make a comment on any of the legislative items? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We are now on item I, Program Manager's Report. Kim is unfortunately not with us today. And on her behalf, Laura Zuniga is going to present that report.
Okay. I know Kim would have. Yeah, I don't know how long it's been since Stephanie indicated she needed more time. Do we want to check in with her or?
We could.
This is the moderator.
Only been 10 minutes, she says.
She said 20 minutes.
Right, that thing says it's only been 10 minutes, so.
It's only been 10 minutes? Okay, well, then
Then we'll go
Do
forward.
you want to move to item K?
Does that matter to me?
Let's stay on if we can. I don't think we're too complicated on this K one to throw anybody off, or do you want to be here for that one?
Because it's specific.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's-
It's a little more.
Let's jump down to K then,
Okay.
if that's okay with everyone. Moderator, can we open it up to the public to make sure that that is okay with them schedule wise?
I was going to let you know that Stephanie had logged off. And is just now logging back in. So let me give that one quick second. Okay, so she's logged back in, presumably, possibly at a desktop. So we're opening up the public comment feature if anyone would like to make a comment on the agenda adjustment.
To item K.
We are going to be jumping next to item K. And if anyone has a comment or objection to that, they may raise their hand. And if each person will have 3 minutes to comment. And it looks actually like Stephanie's connection has dropped again, so.
And I would like to note, it is on the agenda that the time and order of the agenda items are subject to change at the discretion of the chair.
Oh, thank
So
you.
we don't need to take a public comment. Correct.
very
You can take
much.
it in any order that is appropriate.
I will thank you for.
At your wish.
I will take that under advisement. Thank you very much. We are jumping to item K. So this is a discussion to take potential action on establishing a retired license option. This is something that CAB has done. And so Kim was going to present this. We will ask Laura to present this item on her behalf.
I would be happy to present it. I don't think we have a lot of formal information to present this time. I really think it's to get a sense of what the committee would like. But the board does have a retired license category. I actually don't know when it was established. It was before my time with the board, but soon after I started, there was an issue raised about the fact that we were charging the same fee to retire the license as it was to renew it. And then our legal counsel at the time, prior to Helen joining us, identified that we had not set a fee in regulation. So we paused issuing retired licenses for maybe about 2 years while we determined what the fee should be. And the board members had a real interest in trying to lower that cost. And so we did a study. We worked with the budget office on that. And we eventually adopted a fee of $40 for the retired license, which was quite a bit less than the $300 we were charging. And we did an estimate of how many people would be retiring their license. And I don't think we expected to change that much from the prior numbers, but we were wrong by a lot. And we retired over 1,000 licenses once we started reissuing them again. And that cost us, I think, ongoing about $1 million in lost revenue. So just as a cautionary tale for the committee to consider is that it's a great benefit when we can offer that for people because they've given their whole life to their profession and they don't want to just let it go inactive. And I understand that. But just to consider, obviously we would work with the budget office if LATC is to do this, but just, consider what the impact to the licensee profession is. LATC does not have authority to establish a retired license by regulation, so we would need to go to the legislature for that authority, which is definitely doable. But then we would do that and then do the regulatory process. And as part of that, would be working on the cost estimate of what it would cost. So if this is something the committee's interested in, staff can certainly start working on this and doing some of that research. So really to get a sense today of where the committee would like to go with it.
Thank you very much. I'll open it up to the committee. Are there any thoughts on this? Susan?
Yeah, so how does that work? So if I retire, do I get to call myself still a landscape architect? Do I have to put the word retire? Am I allowed to do any work at all? Is it 100% retirement?
You can't do any work that would require a license. So it's just, you could use that as in your references to yourself. You wouldn't be able to advertise as a landscape architect because you're not meeting the requirements to practice anymore.
So what is the benefit of having this then?
People don't like to just let their license lapse, and online it would show as inactive or delinquent. And so it's just a personal preference for some licensees that would like the option to do it. That is what I've heard from architects, and I know other boards that have it. I don't know how much we've heard from LATC licensees. We could certainly survey them.
And I could see that because the only option that exists presently is just to stop paying your license renewal fee, and then you are right, then you're done, right? You don't have a license anymore. This would be the same thing, I think, is in the case of CAB. Is there like something given to the retired?
A retired license certificate? That's a good question. I should know that. I don't know. I think we do, right? And they have up to 5 years to reinstate it back to an active license and meet the requirements.
Yeah, so it's just it's an option for someone retiring instead of just lapsing and having their license expire, a little bit more formal process that some people could enjoy. But obviously we would need to do an assessment of the costs, implications, so that we would propose charging enough to cover those costs and not experiencing a deficit. At least that would be my proposal. So anybody else? John, I think you had some.
Yeah,
Or I'm sorry, Susan, you're not done.
I was talking. Okay, I'm concerned if the architect board took $1 million hit.
Yeah.
And we only have $1 million in our budget.
It was really painful.
It would be a big, and you said it was only 1,000.
It was like 1,000 more than we anticipated. So those people are no longer paying their renewal fees ever, because it's a one-time fee to retire a license. And so maybe some of them would have dropped off either way in terms of not renewing, but it was just, I think, a good opportunity for people when it was set at $40. So yeah, it's just a loss in ongoing revenue. So
right now, if I retire, am I allowed to list anywhere that says retired landscape architect? Or is that what this would create, is the ability to say retired landscape architect?
I mean, there is no retired landscape architect title currently. So if you don't meet the requirements, just call yourself a landscape architect, or you couldn't call yourself a retired landscape architect.
Yeah, I don't really see a big benefit of this. If you can't call yourself it, you can't practice it, and we lose revenue, why would we do it? That's my input.
Well, I think, am I on? So if we do not have it, you cannot refer to yourself as a landscape architect at all, right? Unless you are continuing to keep your license active. And if you're continuing to keep your license active, you can put, I'm a landscape architect and I am personally retired, right? If your status is retired on a verification page, you can say retired landscape architect or whatnot. You cannot perform any services as a landscape because you're retired, but you can, that is a verifiable title, and it's not just your personal announcement that I am retired. And so if someone were to look you up, but yeah, you're either way, you are only allowed to practice if you have an active license, whether you've gone delinquent because you just wanted to retire or you put yourself in a retired status. I kind of got lost what I was saying. Either way, you can't work. You cannot provide landscape architect services. But if you're active, you can call yourself retired if you'd like. But you would not be able to say retired if you were delinquent, is where I'm going.
Right,
Yes.
right. And I just am pointing out, you can't work, you can't call your, why even have a category of retired? I don't
Well, I just
understand.
wanted to hear
The
what you call
category would
yourself.
provide you that ability.
Right, but you,
To call yourself a
yeah, but
retired.
you can't work, and
Right.
if we start losing revenue, that's my concern. We're already only at $1.5 million budget, you know?
Yeah.
And how many people actually are retired who are still paying their fee? That would be part of what you would be investigating, right?
I mean, I think as part of it, we would probably survey licensees to see if we could gauge any interest and how many would want this. Yeah. Look at other professions beyond architects that have it.
I just wanted to clarify, like, the First
Yes.
Amendment, how you talk about yourself. So yes, you can always be active and call yourself retired. So, but you couldn't identify yourself as retired if you are not active and not with a retired status permission.
Yeah, I actually don't support this at this time. I think the budget is too much of a concern for me. I mean, we raised our fee from what, 400 to 700 to justify our budget, and now we're saying, no, we may lose some of that. So I personally think it's not the right time to be studying this.
Okay. Committee Member Brzezinski, I think you were next.
Yeah, John Roshinsky. I just have a quick question. You can let your license lapse for 5 years and then reinstate it, correct?
For up to 5 years,
Up to
yeah,
5
you can
years.
renew it. You have to pay your delinquent fees.
Okay,
To
so you
reinstate.
would have to pay all the delinquent fees. So technically, in our case, it could be like up to $3,500 somebody would have to pay if they let it lapse and just
Right.
let it go.
Right.
Okay. Another question that I have is in the event that a licensee becomes incapacitated for whatever reason, is there any provision for them to request a waiver of fees and that type of thing until such time that they're able to physically or mentally perform their job again?
It's a good question. We don't have that authority. I don't know if any program does within DCA. I could do a little bit of checking. I'm not aware of anyone, but it's possible.
Okay.
If the licensee becomes incompetent,
Yeah, or incapacitated saying, so maybe it's not, it's a temporary condition. I don't think so.
I'm not aware of it. Sometimes there are license types in which there are methods to help take care of the licensee or to cover the licensee's duties if they become incompetent, usually not on a temporary basis, but
Usually permanent.
a long
Yeah.
permanent basis. But I don't know that we have any type of status other than going retired, inactive, delinquent,
Right.
anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
And we probably wouldn't want an announcement of incapacitated. We would have a retired,
Yeah.
inactive or delinquent.
Putting that on public,
It does.
you would probably not be a good idea. Committee Member Trout.
Okay, yes, Patricia Trouth. I just want to go on record that I wouldn't support it either because of the fiscal impact. Thanks.
Okay, at this time, should we prepare a vote for this, or do we just, since it,
I don't think we need a vote. I think maybe just an indication from you as to whether you want staff to put more research into this and present a more substantive proposal or not at this time and sort of table it, maybe reconsider it
Yeah.
later on in the strategic planning cycle.
Correct.
myself-
Oh, sorry. A staff instruction wouldn't need a vote, but
Okay.
of course we would need
We
public comment.
need public comment, yes. Okay, at this time, let's open for public comment.
All right, this is the moderator.
Oh.
And we do have
You've
comment
been
in
waiting for this
Sacramento.
one.
We
Okay,
do have comment in the room today.
Jason.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Go ahead.
Thank you, members. Jay Snyder on behalf of the California Council of the American Society of Landscape Architects. I did not, in fact, plan to offer any comments today, but and this one may not be necessary either. But first I should cover myself and say that I have not discussed this yet with CCASLA's members and would need to, which is on me. But I do think that the cautionary note from your staff and the comments from the remainder of the members are well taken, and I think that obviously any question of this needs to be considered with the relevant the value of doing it. So basically, I'm just saying, yes, we agree that makes sense that at a minimum, we should kind of think this through a little bit more. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. At this time, we could turn to WebEx for public comment.
Certainly. If anyone on WebEx would like to make a comment, you can click the hand icon to raise your hand, and you'll have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. And our request from comment is from Stephanie Landegren. I'm going to send you a request to unmute your mic. There you go. Go ahead.
And thank you, Chair and members.
A little
We're
louder.
having
would
a
help.
hard time hearing Stephanie.
Let me see what I can do for you to make this work. Gosh.
That's better.
I will try to be louder. How's that?
Exactly.
Okay. Stephanie Landrigan. I am representing myself today. I'm a licensed landscape architect, number 4093 in California. I believe that you all have discussed this correctly, and unless it has a positive financial impact, I think it should not be something you all should consider it at this time. And I do not believe that those individuals who are retired would be interested in not in this as far as I'm concerned. That's myself. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'll try to fix this volume later.
All right. Thank you. And I do not see any other requests for comment. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, at this time, we are back to the committee. And I am not seeing any reason that we should proceed with asking staff to look into this. And we do thank you, Laura, for that fiscal information. That's obviously very helpful.
A bit of a fiscal rain cloud, but I just want to be
Yeah,
realistic.
that's a big number. Last time I checked. So thank you very much. Okay, we're now jumping back to, on your time? Yeah. Your one, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we are, since we have Stephanie Landrigan, we can go back to Jay. Once again, discussing the upcoming University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA Extension Certificate Program Review. After this, we will break for lunch. I am going to ask Laura to present this agenda item. I need to recuse myself as an instructor at UCLA Extension and also a member of their guidance committee. So I am going to step away, and in doing so, give the chair position over temporarily to committee member Trouth to run this portion of things. So you will see me exit here.
Thanks. Okay, so let's see, agenda item J. So let's see. So Laura, are you going to give us an overview?
Sure. Okay, thank you. Okay, as the committee members know, the LHC's regulations provide for an approval process for extension programs. So the certification review for the UCLA extension program, which is currently the one approved program, the review is currently underway as part of the board of the committee's oversight responsibilities. The visiting team has been selected, and it includes committee member Marty Armstrong, Carlos Hernandez, Christine Anderson, and Amber Lake. UCLA has completed the self-evaluation report, which is a critical component of the review process. And then there will be a site visit, and that's scheduled to take place in June or July of this year. Following that visit, the visiting team will convene in August or September to review the findings from the self-evaluation report and the site visit, prepare a formal recommendation for the LATC's consideration, and then that final recommendation will be presented at the October 17th LATC committee meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to open it up to the committee for comments.
John Roshinsky. I fully support this effort and wanted to bring some information that came from the recent ASLA trustee meeting that is part of an item that I introduced at that meeting requesting that ASLA and the Landscape Architecture Accreditation Board in particular start to take a closer look at accrediting certificate programs as well as associate degree programs in the country, and was informed that LAB is beginning to take this much more seriously and will soon be beginning discussions on how to proceed on studying this issue much more closely. So hopefully at some point, extension programs like the one at UCLA will be formally accredited by LAB if they so choose to go that pathway. And I just wanted to put that out there.
That is really good information to have, because I know last time before we started, I guess the last review cycle, we spent quite a bit of time going back and forth trying to get LAAB to take over that role, because obviously it seems like an appropriate source for it. So that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yes, it's definitely great to hear. Thanks, John. Susan, any comments? Okay. Let's see. So we'll open it up for public input.
And this is the moderator. If anyone has any public comment, is there anyone in the room who'd like to make public comment?
No.
Thank you. And if anyone online would like to make a comment, you can click the hand icon to raise your hand. We do have a request for comment from Stephanie Landegren, and I'll send you a request to unmute your microphone. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Excellent. Thank you all. I'm Stephanie Landrigan. I'm the director of the Landscape Architecture program at UCLA Extension. I prepared the SER for your consideration. I am really excited that you will be reviewing us, and we are a mighty little certificate program, and I think we are academically sound, and I really appreciate the opportunity to hear what Member Wyszynski said, that the lab is looking at including other programs. I think right now we are becoming a boutique profession and we need to be a little more open. So that is terrific information to hear. And we really look forward to having you all on campus, and would be wonderful to know as soon as possible what those dates might be. And thank you all again for the opportunity of being your one certificate university program that is in the Landscape Architects Practice Act. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Susan?
Yes, Susan Landry. Stephanie, thank you for all that you do. I have a question. How many students do you have yearly in your program?
We have close to 100. So we have students who move in and out because we are more flexible in allowing individuals to continue the program if they have life issues. The fires did affect several of our students, but we also, because our program is hybrid now, we have students who are here from up in Oregon, Washington. We have some students who have come from Louisiana. So we're able to serve more of a national audience at the moment, but we have about 100 for the 3 years. So that's close. We start off with about 50 in the first year, and then it comes down to about 25 in the second year, and then we usually graduate between 10 and 20 in the third year. So it does vary based upon life circumstances. Some of our students take the whole 3 years in a sequence, and others slow down if they have an event in life.
And how many of those graduation and graduating people end up getting their actual license?
Well, that's a good question. We have, if they take the test, our students appear to be quite successful. I have, in the last 3 years, many of our students took the test, but of course, most of them need a 2-year experience to get the license on top of taking the exam. So within those last 3 years, I would say the majority of our graduating class has been licensed. I'm very proud of the success of our licensed landscape architects. So, but this year's graduates and last year's graduates are not yet eligible. Many of them are not eligible, but some are. It is something we encourage, and we do offer the LATC, and we offer the LARE prep courses, of which I give a discount to my students to encourage them to become practicing landscape architects.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I do not see any other requests for comment from attendees. Shall I close the public comment feature?
Please. Yes,
Thank you.
please. Okay.
Okay, and this item doesn't need any action, so it was just an update. So there are no further questions.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So let's see, let me go get the chair. Oh, there you are.
I am back. Committee, we have a choice at this point. We could take a 10-minute break and then come back. At that time, we can continue on with the items and then break a little later after we get through a few of these for lunch. Does a 10-minute break work for everybody?
If I'm not corrected, I think we only have one item left, don't we?
No, we have
How many, what do we have
to
left?
go back to the program manager report.
Correct. So we would have one more discussion item, which would be the update and discuss on the council. And then we have a report and a review of future meetings. So that's, I was hoping we could take a discussion before I had to leave for the afternoon and another attorney covered. But there's one major discussion item.
I was just hoping that maybe we could get them all done before lunch. No?
I think a 10-minute break might be.
Take 10 minutes and then come back and then have lunch again.
We'll come back and continue the agenda items before lunch.
Before lunch, okay, yes.
That was the option. Is that okay with you? Yeah, okay. We are going to break for 10 minutes and we will return. Back to our meeting, and we're going to start with the program manager's report, go back to item I. And Laura, would you be so kind?
Sure. Do this on behalf of Kim. So this is on page 50 of your packet. I'm just going to go through some of the highlights, but feel free to interject if you have any questions as we go forward. It will start with the strategic plan. So it was approved earlier this year. And so LATC staff have worked on an implementation plan with DCA's facilitators. So just there are a few updates in here on specific items. As part of the plan's goal to monitor AI trends, which I know is an issue that is of interest to this committee, Kim initiated AI-focused research, which included reviewing Laura Schmidt's ASLA presentation, Putting AI to Work, Practical Applications of AI. And an AI reference list is being compiled to support ongoing staff development and awareness. On to outreach. LATC completed one outreach presentation this quarter at UC Berkeley, so it's furthering their goal of engaging academic institutions. And then they're actively identifying new outreach opportunities, targeting diverse and underrepresented communities across age and education levels. We do have a personnel update as well. Maybe I should have started with this. But Bethany Putari, who is actually a board employee, has moved over to LATC. Is it official yet?
Not quite.
It's in process. So Bethany is helping both programs still, but very happy that personally that I'm not losing her. She's still here, but she'll be a great addition to the LATC staff. So thank you.
Welcome.
And then Kim attended a high school ACES pathway program presentation supporting the goal of increasing early exposure to careers in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics as part of the ongoing commitment to expand awareness and accessibility to the profession statewide. There's social media highlights as well in here. They have some increased activity with additional posts and some new followers. And the upcoming content will focus on licensure education, exam info, regulatory reminders, and CLARB updates. And then we encourage members to follow and share the social accounts to expand outreach and engagement. The newsletter content is in progress and targeted for review and then hopefully completion in mid-June. We did have a Instagram and listserv poll for naming, which we didn't have. We had low participation, so they're going to encourage a revote to get more input and would look for any content ideas that people have to help promote that revote and boost engagement. So moving forward, there's the legislative updates. We've already covered that earlier on the agenda. You can see the exam statistics are there as well. It's a fairly small population for this report for CSE, so I would just say statistically it's hard to read a lot into that because of the numbers. And then going on from there, you can see the LATC enforcement data starting on page 54. And that is the end of that report. Does anyone have any questions?
Laura, I have one question on the discipline end of things. When it says pending attorney general, is that typically how things go? Or does that mean the seriousness was such that it is going?
Right. Only the most serious cases would be sent, yeah, for formal disciplinary action.
Okay. Thank you. I have no other questions. John Roshinsky?
John Roshinsky. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. The first, following up on the enforcement actions, the pending classification, what constitutes pending? I mean, like when you get a complaint, and because if I read these numbers correctly, it looks like some of them were addressed and other ones are waiting to be addressed.
Yeah, so anything pending is ones that are still in process of being investigated. Is that accurate, Gloria? I assume that's what's in that category. I think it's been opened and it's in process of either the staff doing the review, yeah, or maybe out to a subject matter expert when we need their.
Okay, so
it hasn't resulted in a citation yet. It's still pending.
Okay, it doesn't mean that it's just sitting there. It might be waiting for.
Right, there's actions being done on it. It just doesn't have a final action to report yet as to whatever the outcome of that is. It could be a letter of advisement, it could be a citation, yeah.
Okay, let's see. One question that I have in regards to the exam numbers here. I know that one of the things that we've discussed in the past is with the new information system that's been implemented, that it would give us more capacity to go in and look at those numbers specifically. Because what I'm seeing here is you either passed or you're failed. It's not telling us the people that failed, did they miss by just 1 or 2 points, or do they miss by 50, type of thing. I think it would be good to have an idea. And then also, if there's any, for lack of a better term, demographics on these candidates. And what I mean by that is the repeat. For those repeating the exam, it doesn't tell us how many times that they've taken the exam. It just says that it's at least twice. And I know that there's definitely candidates out there that have taken the exam more than twice. Now that the system's there, it would be nice to be able to start looking more effectively, I think, at how some of this is breaking down.
I agree with you, John.
And then my last, well, let's see here. The newsletter, I'm assuming that goes out in hard copy. It's actually mailed out to licensees. Is that correct? Or is it?
I think it would be an email version that would go out to our
Okay.
listserv. Yeah.
Okay, email. Okay, that was my question, whether it's digital or
Yeah.
both or,
Do a lot better pictures that way. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be digital.
And
It's
then-
less expensive that way.
yeah, and then one question that I had on the outreach, is, do we have any efforts going on to reach out more directly, especially to K-12?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the presentation that Kim attended was a high school one. And so that's definitely been a discussion item that we realize we need to get into that level. And so, I mean, we're hoping, I think we've had some discussions at the department level about whether they can kind of assist with that engagement, because it's really amongst many professions, right? Not just ours.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely,
Because
a
I'm
focus.
just curious, I'm assuming that the Architects Board, they probably have a fairly active program reaching out to the schools.
not really to K-12. So it's definitely, it's something that the board needs to start up as well. So
Okay.
we can definitely do it together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really pertinent, especially considering that the pathways people are choosing to get educated are definitely changing. And so a lot of decisions are being made in high school
Mhm.
now versus waiting until they're in college or
Right,
whatever.
right. And with the alternative pathways that are available for both architects and landscape architects, we need to get that information to them so they know
Yeah,
an option. Yeah.
okay.
And then we'll take back and see what we can get on the data on the candidates, particularly the ones who've taken it more than once. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
And this is Pamela Brief. John, a little bit more on the K through 12. I have been having conversations with Kim and she's doing a great job at looking forward into that and what they can do. I know you guys are having a lot of conversations about opportunities and we really appreciate that. I mean, she's really diving into this issue and sees an opportunity.
Mhm.
And in addition to just reaching out about education of the fact that there is landscape architecture. She's also getting involved in STEM, STEM fairs, because now with the STEM designation, we can attend those. So, really casting a good net. So the conversations that we've had in our updates, I've been very impressed.
Great. That is
Yeah.
good to hear. Yeah, they're doing
Yeah.
a great job.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. I could say that since she's not here. I mean, I could say it if she's here.
I know she's
especially
listening from home,
without
so.
her, saying, oh, shucks. But yeah, so great. Any other comments? Patricia, anything? And for the record, Susan Landry has had to step out for just a moment. But we're not making any, we're not voting on anything at this moment. So I just want to make that note for the record.
Correct, thank you. And since there's no public, we can, in Sacramento, we can announce there's no public in Sacramento, so she can go straight to
Thank
online
you.
comments.
Thank you. I will repeat that for the record. There is no public any longer here in Sacramento, so we can go straight to WebEx for public comment. And you can open that now.
Thank you so much. If anyone would like to make a comment on a program manager's report, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Are there any comments on the program manager report? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, we are jumping to, well, not jumping to, but finishing up with item L. And then we will go to M, which is the meeting dates. Update and discuss Council of Landscape Architecture, Registration Board. At this time, I do not have any additional CLARB updates. There will be a CLARB meeting later this year. It's my understanding that we have requested permission to travel. And so we are hoping for that, that yay vote very soon, fingers crossed. John, I believe you have a few items on your committee.
John Roshinsky, yes. The experience committee that I was serving on with CLARB, just a brief update on that. The document was approved by the CLARB board earlier this spring and has now been incorporated into their qualifications to sit for the exam as far as the model law goes. And essentially what it did is it formalized the relationship between the reviewer and the candidate in regards to who's responsible for what type of information is to be monitored and recorded so that when the candidate applies to take the exam, that's set across the board. Also, it expanded what's acceptable as far as international education goes. So if there's candidates that are applying for license here in the United States and they've been educated elsewhere, it more formally recognizes an effort to equate that foreign education with what would occur here in the United States. Let's see, the second thing is there are, CLARB is currently in the process of amending their bylaws, and they're proposing some changes to their structure in regards to the terms of service for their directors at large and other positions. They're also looking at eliminating the regional structure and mandatory regional meetings. They said that it doesn't mean that that would preclude regional meetings, but that they would try to incorporate those activities into other things that they have going on. There would be some changes in their financial positions and their finance committee as a means to improve the functionality of all of that. They would remove contested elections of officers. So instead of having a slate where we would have to vote between different candidates for a particular position, if the bylaws are amended as proposed, what would happen is the the committee that puts together the slates, they will just put forward one name for each position. And so essentially it would be just voting in that capacity. Let's see what else here. I think that's pretty much it, other than they, as far as the K-12 education and that type of thing, they're expanding their program outreach programs themselves to to address that issue. So that's it.
Thank you, John. Any questions based on John's report? Yeah, Patricia.
Yeah, thanks for the update, John. Appreciate it. The international candidates, I'm really glad to hear that, they addressed that. I remember, I don't think I was on the board with any of you at the time, but it was a big deal about 5 years ago or longer. Yeah. You were saying that, it sounds like there won't necessarily be an election because there's only going to be one person that's recommended. How does that happen?
They would still hold elections, but there would be one person put forward per position. Yeah.
And how was that one person determined?
They would be selected from a list of candidates that the committee that puts that forward would vet and then would make a determination.
So they have like a nomination committee, is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I know we have definitely spoken many times in the past about California representation on their committees and their board and that type of thing. So that's definitely something we would have to stay on top of and continue to let them know that we think that we need that representation officially.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've had additional conversations subsequently with CLARB on that issue, and so we're in good conversations on that.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Thank you.
Any other questions? I will open up for public comment on WebEx.
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the CLARB update, you can look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the item on the CLARB update? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we are now at item M, which is review of future committee meeting dates. The LATC and CAB meeting dates have been identified for 2025. CAB meetings, board meetings have been indicated here as June 5th, August 21st, and November 6th. With LATC meetings happening on July 24th and October 17th. We have TBD locations. There's been some conversation with Kim about trying to get an in-person at a university. So we're in process in that conversation. Staff is nodding their heads. So I know they're working on it and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I imagine due to the time and that it will be summer break for many of the students, we will probably have our July 24th via WebEx unless there is another reason for, unless things between now and then warrant an in-person. So that's what we're looking at now. And also for our next meeting, could we get the September 17th through 20th CLARB meeting on the schedule as well, just so that we're looking at that as potential meeting dates.
Oh, just add it as an item here.
Added as an
Yeah.
item.
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I can update you too on the board meeting locations. The June 5th one will be in Sacramento. So we'll also have a WebEx option and LATC members available to attend either in person or via WebEx.
Mhm.
The August 21st meeting is in Berkeley at a community college. Apologize, I can't remember which one, but I can send that information out. That one will not have a virtual option.
Okay,
And then the November one will also be in Sacramento with the WebEx option.
okay. All right. Can we look at calendars really quick and see who can attend which board meeting now? Susan, are you available since the Berkeley one must be in person? Would you be available on August 21st? I'm going to jump to that one. Really? Wow. So far out. Would you be able to attend that? Yes, August 21st in Yeah, in person. Thank you. Board meeting in Sacramento on June 1st. Tricia, do you want to? What's that?
Could be attended remotely as well.
Could be attended remotely.
I'll be out of the country.
You will, lucky you. I can attend, that's a Thursday, correct? You can put me on that one. And November 6th. Would anybody like to take that one?
I'll cover that.
You will, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, John.
Let's see here.
November 6th, yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
No, I'm sorry, it was something else.
Okay, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It looks like that the
Legal
August
duty.
meeting is at Laney College.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Is that the August one?
Yes, on August 21st.
August 21st.
And I'll send
in
you more
Berkeley.
information. But
Yeah. And just for the sake of doing so, we'll allow WebEx to open for public comment in case there's any public comment on our meeting dates.
It's always a good time.
Oh, it's a good time.
This is
like
the
to-
moderator. And we've opened up for comments on future meeting dates. If anyone has any comments or important world conflicts that they need to call attention to, let's look for the hand icon and press that to raise your hand. Are there any comments on future meeting dates? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall we close that feature?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
At this time, we have successfully run through our agenda items. I will call the meeting as adjourned at 12:24 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you. This meeting has concluded.